Britain, my friends, is under siege. Not from bombs or foreign armies, and not just from those fighting-age men crossing the English Channel. On Wednesday, His Majesty's government announced it would halve tax relief for repairs to Britain's historic churches, leaving nearly 1,000 at immediate risk of closure. There aren't just old buildings that represent our churches, they're the soul of our country. This is nothing more than a lefty assault on, well, our faith and indeed our farms too. It's happening across the piece. A favourite of mine, St Bartholomew's the Great in London, has stood for over 900 years. It survived the Great Fire of London and the Nazi Blitz. But here's the real question. Will it survive Labour? The left's grand strategy is pretty simple. Dismantle our heritage, erase our shared culture and leave us rootless in this warped dystopian future they're seeking to build. These buildings, which have given our country so very much, are being left to crumble. Some of them are being turned into mosques or something else. And meanwhile, £117 million is being funnelled to protect places of Muslim worship. And it's not just our history that's under attack, it's the safety of our present. In Dinshange, parents are pulling their children from school because migrants housed in a nearby hotel have been loitering and filming kids. Police there insist that there is no evidence of crimes, yet patrols and lessons on appropriate behaviour are underway. I don't know about you, but I've never needed to be told not to film kids. This isn't incompetence. I think it's intentional. Strip us of our heritage, undermine our traditions, and create a climate where communities are simply too afraid to stand up for themselves or even fire off a tweet. Our inheritance is being sold off, our communities feel unsafe, and we're being conditioned to look the other way. We stand to lose far more than old buildings that you might see. You might dismiss them as such. We lose safety at the school gate as well. And when that happens, we lose who we are. And once that's gone, there ain't no getting that back. Right, Kai, I've got to let you come in because...
Do you have to?
Well, unfortunately. But listen, I'm assuming that you're going to tell me I'm Islamophobic and that Labour's new definition would mean that I'm going to jail.
No, look.
Yes.
What you've just told us is a litany of different... angry statements about quite disparate issues that you've bunched together to create a sort of a culture war issue. Now, look, we can all agree that art, culture, heritage has been massively underfunded in recent years, right? Yes.
What about
number two, let me finish. Number two, you then go on to talk about the difference between the underfunding of those cultural heritage assets and then actually the funding of security of mosques and that kind of stuff. Now, why do mosques need security? I'll tell you the same reason that Italy has policemen with guns outside synagogues is because dangerous criminals want to attack those places of worship. Half of religiously motivated crimes in England and Wales in the last few years have targeted Muslims. So that's why we're spending millions of pounds on supporting the Muslim community.
Where is this?
And that is a separate issue to heritage.
Arson attacks are happening on our churches as well.
But
2022.
But I've just told you half of religiously motivated attacks
you mentioned Italy. Why
against
is that?
Muslims.
What has Europe done to itself in order for Jews
and again,
to be
you bring in a different topic because it's uncomfortable.
It's not a different
It's
topic.
uncomfortable to accept that rhetoric like this against Muslims directly links to attacks against mosques.
Why can you not accept, Kai, that the schools being recorded, for example, and the fact that Jews are being persecuted are of the same issue? It's because of what you have imported into this country via Tony Blair, your idol. You did this to us. You betrayed Britain and our country, and you betrayed everyone that you just said needs support and defending.
Also, what you're doing, Kai, is part of this gaslighting that Alex was talking about. You're dividing the elephant up into small parts so that we only look at one bit at a time. Actually, what's going on here is the question we need to answer is there a problem that certain cultures are not compatible with ours? Does that lead to all of these disparate things that you say Darren brings together? Is it one thing? But if you keep splitting it up, no one will talk about it.
I think we can answer that question. We know that these cultures are not compatible with ours. I think the second question is, why are we tolerating it? Like, Darren, you put that grab up before and you didn't actually mention it. That headline in the Telegraph said that the police referred to immigrant men hanging around schools as a cultural issue.
Yes.
Why are we tolerating this? And I know why we're tolerating it, because of this whole diversity.
Well, just for radio listeners, it says asylum seekers loitering outside school is a cultural issue. That's what the police dismissed it as. They wouldn't say that about anything. If it was white men hanging around a school, you can bet your bottom dollar that they'd call it what it is.
Step back and think about how absolutely abhorrent that statement is. I don't know why we are accepting this, other than
I'll tell you, I'll tell you why I think we're accepting it, and it's been the reason why we didn't report the grooming gangs.
Yes.
It's because people thought it was racist to say something, and they were told you were a racist to say something, and the police were fearful of actually arresting these people for those sorts of crimes. And the reality is I think, Dr. Renee, you also nailed it, is we keep on importing all these people into the country. We don't check cultural compatibility, and then we wonder why there's you talked about attacks on Muslims, but there's been over 1,000 something increased attacks on Jewish communities. That is also a statistic we can't ignore. So there's clearly a cultural divide that's happening across our country that isn't just isolated to Muslims, and I don't think that there should be religious violence against anybody for their religion. There's more good Muslims in this country than there are bad ones, but unfortunately it seems to me that this mass rise in immigration is bringing some people here with extremely powerful...
I'd like Kai to tell us about the Christian gangs that are getting together and raping our children.
Look, I know you're being facetious.
How do they not exist?
I know you're being facetious, but
so it's almost
also,
like it is an issue, isn't it, Kai?
I just
Yes.
really...
Thank you,
no.
that was an admission. Yes, it is.
Well, I think there's a real cultural issue.
On that bombshell, I'm going to leave it there. Kai was gazumped. Brilliant.